So, Kitty is trying to keep him quiet, okay? So you send all your good energy from your open heart towards the back of the room, you know. When I say open heart, it doesn't always have to come out through the front, they come out through the back. Good vibes you can send out through your back, through your crown, through your feet, through your legs, through the whole of your body. You think you have created space in your body. You fill it with light that is benevolent, light that is loving kindness. And you send it to the baby at the back. And notice how it makes you feel. This is your goodness that you are living now. It's so easy, we just need a baby that is not mine. And as I said, you expand it, may all the babies be safe. Kitty, do you mind coming here for a moment? If just the sound is not enough, then now you can look. Turn around and sit down. No. People always want to give me the babies. I have no experience with babies. I can talk to people. Yeah? When they understand me. Look at them, Elliot. Look. Those guys there. You want my glasses maybe, yeah? Those guys there, look. They just send you a lot of love and a lot of life, a lot of love and a lot of light, so that you're always happy and always safe. You want to say thank you to them? Yeah? Yeah, loves. They all have good hearts. Yes. And they all love you. Yeah. But yeah, look at his face. He says, really? I'm not sure. That's what we say. That's what our ego is saying. We're kind of quite careful, you know. It's like, oh, I'm not sure. So these are, you know, we can't come up with a baby every time we don't feel so well. But you have YouTube, you have all these things. Yeah. You have all these things that you can you see, even it's not that, you know, I'm a bit afraid with babies, but you want to come? Oh. And then what are you going to teach together? When you're like, Daddy, already working with the computer? Look, this is a nice thing here. This we can do. There we go. It's heavy. That's not the right purpose. This is to go like this. Yeah. Can I bring it back? This is it also. Children, you know, once they have something, it is mine. So you can see, even, I'm not joking, even with small beings like this, it's already there. We're born with this kind of thing. I want it. I have it now. I'm not going to give it back. So we have the living proof that we carried this with us since beginningless lifetimes. And this is why we're having problems. So now it depends how much he likes it and how much, you know, it's how much he kind of thinks, oh, this is good, I have to keep it. Whether he will give it back or not. Yeah, I mean, you can keep it, and I use my watch when the meditation is fine. Now again, the conflict starts if I think, okay, I gave it to you for just to make this sound. I didn't give it to you to keep it, and then the conflict starts. Now, with a baby, you would never get angry. Because you understand, the baby has no control over his mind. I give you bad news. We don't have control over our mind either when it comes like, this is mine, right? But we're not expressing it like this, but we keep it, and then it starts to eat here, and it starts to spread, and then it takes the whole space, and then we don't enjoy anymore, and all of a sudden this stupid object becomes very important. You can see it in children. This you cannot have. You can see it in children, and we're still the same. All of a sudden we lose our human intellect or intelligence that we haven't seen. Is it really that important? That object. So what shall we do? Can he keep it? And then when he's bored with it, then. Yeah? Okay. But from my side, if he starts crying, he can keep it. Okay, thank you very much for helping me with the lecture and for helping them to open up their hearts. See, this is how it goes. So before you kind of feel it and then you will heal it, as I'm saying, and I have a tear coming. So, I cry very easily, by the way, so that's okay. But usually not because I'm sad, but I'm moved, so it's okay. Also, the kids of my ex-boyfriend, when we were watching movies together, for them I'm Auntie Rita, right? So they say, we can't watch this movie with Auntie Rita, she will start crying again. So it's like that. But it's okay to be moved. It's okay to show that you're moved. Don't be afraid. It's a very human kind of emotion, and then you feel alive and you feel happy, and the main thing is you feel spacious. Our mind is spacious, it has limitless space, but because we fill it with this ego, I and this miyagali or whatever, it's like, it just, yeah, okay. Yeah, see, she didn't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, we kind of spoil it all. Life could be so beautiful, but when we are so self-centered and there's no friendliness in the heart, and there's no openness, and there's only fear and anxiety and all this, life becomes very, very difficult. It becomes even more difficult than it is, because life, also as the Buddha says, life is difficult. We shouldn't forget that. There are certain sufferings that we cannot escape. Like not having what we want, getting what we don't want, desiring things, not finding them. The worst of all, losing things that we're attached to. It happens again and again and again from very small. You have to give this up, because we wanted it back. So, again, a baby cannot deal with this. But we can by thinking when we have to give something up, well, is it really so important? Things are impermanent. When I say I want to stop teaching, people ask me why. I just say because I feel like I want to stop. So, and I do Buddhist stuff for people who are ready to do Buddhist stuff. Okay, I'm a racist, what do you want to do? But I feel comfortable there. What I'm doing with you at the moment, I don't feel so comfortable anymore because I can see that I'm not a psychologist. I'm kind of, when I read this kind of mindfulness kind of things, and I find them really good, like name it so you can tame it, feel it so you can touch it. They're really good, but I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think when people are not experienced in mindfulness, and they are not guided, as a psychologist, I would maybe bring up the pain of somebody that they have lived through when I feel that they are ready. But how can I know that you're all ready for me to bring up your pain? How do I know that? I don't know. So this is why I don't feel so comfortable with that anymore. I feel comfortable with sadhanas, things that, people want to attain enlightenment, they know what enlightenment is and all this. So that's why I think younger people, more experienced people in neuroscience and psychology and all this should take the place that I'm having here. That's how I feel. Okay, so shall we go to forgiving? And then you can feel your pains and your, so that you can feel it to heal it. But we've done that before. It's nothing new. It's these kind of guidelines from, you see, I've even forgot his name. I think he's called Fred Luskins, if I'm not mistaken. And we did that in previous courses, so you might recognize something, hopefully. Because to repeat things that we want to change again and again and again and again is important, Because understanding it in the head is very easy. This doesn't take much long, that's what the Dalai Lama said this morning. So just in case you wonder, why did she hear the Dalai Lama this morning? Because I had my tablet and I watched him at 5:30 in the morning. So, and again, he said how somebody asked if compassion is a natural ingredient of the mind, why do I feel fear and pain and he said it's not a natural ingredient of your mind. You have to develop it. But we can feel it sometimes because we have the capacity. We're human. Maybe animals can't do that, I don't know. But we are human. We can use thoughts to open up our heart. But we also use the thoughts to feed our ego. And if I talk about ego, how many of you know when in Buddhist terms I talk about ego, you know what I'm talking about? Oh, absolutely nobody? Yeah, a few. Okay. If you don't know what is being talked about when they talk about self, I, ego, me, how are you going to recognize that it doesn't exist the way that it manifests? You have to study, And so it says, so we have to, if you want to develop, if you want to go forward, you have to do both. Bodhicitta, like compassion, but also the wisdom side. And the wisdom side of understanding your I, your me, yourself, or however you want to call it, it does not exist, now be careful, the way that it appears. So when people hear that for the first time, they go, okay, I have no I. Well, that would be wonderful. If it would be as quick as that. You hear it doesn't exist and boom, it's gone, and we're connected to the whole world, then we really behave as a part of the universe and not as an individual. Just the word individual is totally off the wall. What does it mean, individual? What does it mean? Something that you cannot divide. I cannot divide you? I show you. Somebody bring me a knife, please. And the mind has so many parts. If you say you can't cut the mind apart. No, you can't cut it apart, of course, because it's not material. But the mind has so many different things. So if it has different things, they are separate. They're not the same. Do we have philosophers here? People who start philosophy? Yeah. So they're separate from the mind? Or they're totally separate from each other, these mind states? Could be. Oh, he's very careful. That's very cool. They're neither totally separate nor oneness. So there we go, there we stop. Why? Because for us it's either this or that, no other way. And in Buddhism, learn that's not the way things exist. Things exist on a conventional level, yes, but not one thing. You know, people are always looking for the truth. Yeah? Is that true? Nothing is really true. Absolutely nothing. Nothing that we can hear, see, touch, think is absolutely true. It's just relatively true. Something as simple, I always use the same thing. Something as simple as a spot where my finger is. Is that spot here or is it there? If you would point at that spot, what would you say? Huh? There. Me, I would say here. Now, what is it? Truly here or truly there? True. What is true? Is it, because it's not the same. We have to recognize it. Here and there is not the same. Is it totally different? Huh? Why not? Why is it not totally different? I mean, if we wouldn't be here in some kind of fake philosophy class, because I'm not very good at debating, then if somebody would ask you on the street, what do you think? Here and there, is it different? What would you say? Of course. No? Unless you're a Buddhist or a philosopher. Then you would start to say, well, of course it's not the same, but you will come with a but. And that's conventional reality. There's always a but. Here and there cannot be totally separate and different because they're depending on each other. If you don't have here, you don't have there. If you don't have short, you don't have long. If you don't have good, you don't have bad. So how can they be totally separate? One cannot exist without the other. Existence cannot exist without non-existence. If you don't have non-existence, you cannot have existence. So that's conventional reality. So an I or a me or a self kind of, Yaron, please, because you're much better at this than I am. So if I make mistakes, you know, please just stand up and say, oh, you know. Huh? Yeah, you will ask for the microphone and clarify it. Because Yaron and Valda at the back also, Valda is kind of the big philosopher. They go backwards and forwards. And if you're interested in these things, Geshe Kelsang Wamo, which is an amazing being. Wow, really. She will teach every Monday, starting from the 17th. Nagarjuna's, what is it? Mudya, I can't even say the word. Madhamakarika something, I think. The 70 verses of Nagarjuna, I think, which is all about logic. The Dalai Lama, if you want logic, if you think Buddhism is not logic because rebirth, karma, you cannot check rebirth and karma. But why karma works, the Dalai Lama was teaching the last 3 days on this text of Dharmakirti, the Pramanavartika, valid cognition. It gives you all the reasons why things are dependent on others, why karma works, why we cannot be an individual, why this and that, why there cannot be an I, because he uses arguments of why there should be an I, and then there's the other argument, there's Dharmakirti who says, but if it would be like that, it should be like that. If here and there are totally different, you should be able to have a here without having a there, which is impossible. Okay? So if you're interested in this, because she has an amazing way to explain these things every Monday evening on Zoom with the Dharma friends. If you're more interested, if you're not so interested in this mental gymnastics, because for hours they can talk about this with a lot of joy, I unfortunately get always a bit bored after a while, because yeah, it's okay, but we need to hear this again and again and again and again and again. So, if you're more interested in mind states, transforming your mind maybe on a a little bit simpler way, then there is hanging on the door over there. It's called the 16 Guidelines. It's this amazing kind of system that comes from Buddhism without calling it Buddhism. Yeah? And it's very good methods, very good tools. First, how to create that space also in your heart. So so that then the pains, you can let them come up. That's 16 guidelines, 16 positive mind states. And on Thursday, I think, there is a NIF this is thanks to NIF that you have it in Israel. Then afterwards, thanks to many other people also, but he took the responsibility and said, I will start this. For years, I've been looking for people who really get involved and start it, because I think it's such a good program, because you can give it to anybody, because it's not religious. But you can trust it because it has Buddhist views and Buddhist methods behind. So nobody has to become a Buddhist, and they're not even allowed, I think, to call it Buddhism or something like that, although people find out very quickly, but not in a bad way, okay? So if you're interested in this, you can watch the webinar, because Victoria, who is the head of the whole thing, it's a worldwide kind of movement. She will explain, and then Ceci, who is a neuroscientist, and she has even I understand when she explains things about neuroscience. She has a very good way of talking about mind, brain, nerves, and emotions, for you to have tools that you can work with. And then, of course, the plan is that there will be groups where you meet maybe twice a month, once a month, once a week, I don't know, because you have to repeat. You have to repeat. So this is the same for the Dharma group. Yeah, you have to keep going to workshops and meetings and meditations until you feel a change, and until you then are where you want to go to. The problem is that because it's difficult, I mean, it's not easy to look at all your, negative emotions, bullshit, and kind of dirt and garbage that is inside, to look at it and then not knowing what to do with it. So that's very hard. So quite a lot of people give up because they see people like the Buddhists, who are, like Elliot at the moment, very happy and moving and going like this, and they think, oh, I want to practice that, that must be a good thing. But it's hard work to get there, so maybe some people can affirm it. You have to be also very flexible, because be careful, Buddhism is not a black and white system. You have to use your own intelligence to see what does it really mean, what is being said here. Because in some cases it's valid, in some other cases it is not, when it's conventional. Yeah, so it's not, of course at the beginning you hear, the 10 non-virtuous actions. Not killing, not stealing, no sexual misconduct, not lying, no harsh words, no divisive speech, no gossip with the mind, no harmful thoughts, no envy, and no wrong views. That's very black and white. But that's just for the beginning. Because it depends on so many conditions, on so many the different situations where you would do something. And the thing is, even if you have 100% pure morality, ethical conduct, you would still suffer, and it's still samsara, because you still haven't understand emptiness. The only way you will end your suffering is by understanding a lack of inherent existence in this combination of body and mind and in all phenomena. Then your suffering will be finished. In the meantime, in order to get there, you have to practice ethical conduct. And I'm talking about training in ethical conduct. Not just saying, oh, I want to do this. It's not working like that, because then you become like an authority who says, you're not allowed to do this, you must do this. It doesn't work for our mind. It has to come from your own side. I want to train in pure morality. You have to make the decision to be moral, because then you will be able to keep it, even if it becomes expensive and not comfortable. Because that's the problem. We're all very ethical and very moral when it doesn't cost anything and when it's not uncomfortable. When we don't have to give up on my own needs and wants and whatever. Then we're very ethical. The moment we have to give something up, we find all kinds of reasons why not to be ethical, isn't it? The ego. Some of you are nodding, so then watch those arguments that your ego says, it's too dangerous now to tell the truth. But don't forget about telling the truth. If somebody is not asking you for the truth, you don't have to tell them how stupid they are. It doesn't make them more intelligent, by the way. If you feel that somebody is suffering because their body is too thin or too big, you don't need to tell them if they're not asking you. They know. Okay? But we have this urge, wanting to change them, wanting them to, to understand you could be happier. Have you ever felt not respected when somebody's asking you, how are you? Then I tell them about my needs. Then they tell me, you should do Pilates or yoga or this or that. I don't want to do these things. And also I didn't ask you for advice. You asked me how I am. I am telling you what is happening. I didn't say, please help me. Have you, because I'm too lazy to do these things. I have zero interest. I'm sorry. In this life, this is like this. I make aspiration in my next life. I will practice the Dharma and do capoeira. This is what I want. This is so beautiful. Just again, this is something now, I have another tool. When I don't feel so well, I say capoeira. And I remember, because I was invited. I was invited to go and participate in a very moving event when one of the group has to go to army, and they especially met because of him, and they made this, it's not a performance, they made this celebration. So if you feel that the Dharma is not working, try capoeira. I tell you, even now, just talking about, I have tears in my eyes just talking about it. It is so beautiful. It is so harmonious. It is so connected with each other. And this is what we're lacking. When you don't forgive, you cut your connection to other people. If people don't forgive you, you can still be connected to them. Don't forget that. Don't force somebody to forgive you, If you feel that they don't want contact with you, out of respect, leave them alone. Because you'll get it again. And then you ask for it. And telling others that you hurt them, I'm not sure. They have to be pretty realized to not get angry at you. Because I remember, I can tell you the story also, because I'm best at talking about my own experiences, because then I know how one can react. The rest is kind of theory that I read from some internet page or whatever. Sounds very intelligent, but it's not my knowledge. So at one point somebody called me, and it was in the middle of a course, and told me, I was very angry at you, but now I forgave you. And again, me, I meet so many people, and I know I'm rough. I do know that I'm rough. So if you tell me, look, you're too rough telling me these things, so please stop telling me these things. But if you ask me questions, what you should do, then I will tell you what to do. Maybe also I tell you sometimes what to do without you asking, now that I've just said it. I have to also be careful just to listen. Most of the time I just listen. So I got angry. I said, why, what? Because I was stressed also. It was a very difficult course where there was not much harmony. It wasn't here. Where there was not much harmony. And so anyway, it was one of the breaks, and I took the phone, unfortunately. I shouldn't have taken it. And this is why, it's very good not to have phones. And so I said, why, what happened? And she said, well, at the teachings of the Dalai Lama there, blah, 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 I